What's going on, guys? Mike, the MadLab Irado from themadlabmma.com. Before we get into the interview with Curtis Razor Blaydes, who has a huge fight coming up on Saturday night, I just wanted to open up by saying a couple things. Excuse the backdrop behind me. Excuse the backdrop that we've had in this interview. I'm not in the studio today. I am working from home. Usually, if you guys watch Inside the Distance or you look at some of our breakdowns, we're actually in a studio with all professional equipment. But we had an opportunity to interview Curtis. It was kind of we got it today. There was no way I was going to pass it up. Like I said, he's got a huge fight on Saturday night. If he wins this fight, more than likely he is getting a shot at the heavyweight strap. So we talked about, a very brief interview, very impromptu, but we talked about a lot. We covered, where his head's at, how we feel his camp went, the landscape of his career, what's after fighting for him. Super, super nice guy. It was super nice of him to take the time, especially on such a busy fight week, to sit down and talk to us for a couple minutes. Those of you that don't know, we do a show called Inside the Distance, which is me and Anthony Bascilio. We break down all the UFC main cards from top to bottom. We give you in a very condensed yet detailed manner. So please check out those videos. Also, Ryan Garcia versus Tank Davis this week is a huge fight. I do another detailed 30-minute deep dive on that. Please go and check that out. I am now doing a third show, and this was supposed to be launched next week. But we're doing a soft opening on it this week, obviously, because we had the opportunity to interview Curtis. I'm doing a show with Mike Straka. Those of you that don't know who Mike Straka is, he is one of the original, they used to call him the black belt of all MMA media. This guy has interviewed everybody. He's had shows on HDNet. He helped write Ronda Rousey's book. The guy is just a wealth of knowledge when it comes to MMA, the history of MMA. He's got good relationships and rapport with all the fighters. And like I said, he was one of the original guys before all these outlets came about, and he's here joining us. The name of the show is going to be called Fighting Words with Mike Straka and myself. We're going to be interviewing fighters. We're going to be interviewing coaches. We're going to be interviewing just people within the business. So this series of the channel is basically going to be fighter interviews, coaching interviews, and such like that. So without further ado, enjoy the content. Enjoy the short interview that we were able to do with Curtis Blaydes, and hopefully we see you guys on plenty of other interviews that we do. Take care.
Welcome to Fighting Words. I'm Mike Straka along with Mike Urata. Big fight this weekend. Heavyweights are going at it in the UFC. We got Curtis Razor Blaydes with us. Curtis, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Man, Curtis, everybody is talking about you versus Jon Jones. Are you afraid that people are looking past Sergey Pavlovich?
I don't know if that's what people are doing. I'm not. I haven't thought about Jon until this week when everybody's asking me about him. I'm worried about Sergey.
It cracks me up. You got a huge fight, and Sergey is no joke. I mean, obviously, you have superior wrestling. Do you think both of you are heavy hitters? But your wrestling is superior to most people in the heavyweight division. Do you think that gives you an advantage?
That's my weapon X right there. It's always going to be something. Even if I don't actually land takedowns, it gives my opponents something they have to think about.
All right, Curtis, when I look at this fight and all, I break down all these fights. When I look at the overall resumes and I look at really the matchups, and when I see Sergey, his resume on paper is impressive. I mean, the guy hasn't been out of the third round. He's a heavy knockout guy. But if you look at all the guys he's fought, a lot of these guys really just want to slang and bang. You got the Tiavasas of the world and stuff like that. They really just want to throw hands with him. You're a guy where I always have preached to a lot of people with you is there's something about your style that a lot of heavyweights don't have. You're very nimble on your feet. You're sharp. You're fast. You have a pure heavyweight frame. You hit with power, and your wrestling, is very athletic. It's just not top heavy. You transition well. You really do have a very athletic frame and game. When I look at someone like Sergey, there's so many questions involved when it comes to him that you've answered already. Are these things that like your camp actually notices about? Do we want to drag him into deeper waters? Do we want to really allow him to wear my weight for the first couple rounds and see where he is? Or are you looking to just come in and try to finish this thing?
No, that's how we approach every fight. I don't hunt finishes. They happen organically. Every finish I've ever scored was just organic. It just the opportunity presents itself within the work, and that's my mindset. I'm gonna go out there, be fast, be patient, and believe in my footwork. I'm not gonna rush the takedowns. I don't have to rush the takedowns. I'm gonna wait until they present themselves, and when they do, I'm gonna capitalize, and we'll see if he can answer.
Curtis, I wouldn't say that you had a meteoric rise in the UFC, but it was a lot faster than most other heavyweight fighters. How would you describe your career in the UFC since your RFA days?
I think it's been very uh, successful. I've won a lot more than I've lost. Made some good money. Um, I've been able to build like a little bit of a brand. I think it's been extremely positive and successful, and I think it's only going to continue that way because early on I was just relying on my athleticism and my wrestling predominantly. Now that I've acquired the confidence to actually believe in my skills and use my athleticism in other areas besides the wrestling, I think that makes me a constant threat, and that's what we want. I want to always be evolving, always presenting new issues for my opponents. I don't want them to ever be like, this is all he does and this is how we beat him. I want it to always be like, we got to be prepared for everything.
Right now, this is one thing that obviously when I was looking at it, because I mean, if I'm not a big guy on UFC rankings, I don't really follow that stuff.
The rankings don't mean nothing.
They mean nothing. I mean, they're ran by the people in the media, and they honestly mean nothing. But you're sitting at number 4 right now, so it's kind of a clear telltale sign that whoever wins this fight is probably going to get the next shot at the heavyweight title. Does it take a little sweetness out of the pot a little bit when if I do win this fight, there is a chance that I may have missed Jon Jones by one fight because he might retire after Stipe. He is kind of flirting with that idea.
I could care less. I don't care if it's me versus Emil Abdurahimov. If it's a title fight, that's what we want.
That's a good answer.
All right, last question for you, Curtis. You talked a little bit about your brand and how it's come along in your UFC career. What are some of the aspects of being a UFC heavyweight star outside of the octagon that you have to focus on that you didn't necessarily have to really worry about before you got to this point in your career?
This right here.
Yeah.
Interviewing, public speaking, networking. Those are things those are skills I've had to work on because when I entered, obviously I have a speech impediment, so public speaking and interviewing, those weren't my favorite things to do, but it's a part of the business. It's part of the job. It's how you make your money. It's how you get sponsors. And yeah, those are the things like my dad, he's always talking to me about that stuff, like, because he doesn't want me to be having a fight until I'm 43 years old. He wants me to already be developing an exit plan and like how to make more money, have other sources of income. And yeah, it's been a lot of outside stuff, but thankfully I have people like my dad, like my coaches, like teammates, like Neil Magny and Justin Gaethje. They're into, like, they buy houses and they flip them, they Airbnb them, they give me ideas, and those are things I'm working on. I want to get into that also. I want to grow my money. I don't want to rely only on the UFC for feeding my family.
That's it's crazy that you're saying that too, because you're in such a prime aspect of your career that you're thinking about that right now. That's really important. Probably the last question for you is, I know from what I see, all of your fights, I've seen you from before the UFC. The blueprint for you is outside of a couple blips in your radar, like Francis Ngannou, Derek Lewis. Your blueprint is the blueprint to become a heavyweight champ. We all know that. Is there anything in this camp that you've done like completely different? Did you bring anybody new in? Did you do something different when you nutrition, or is it kind of business as usual and you're just staying the course?
Yeah, I believe in the philosophy: if it's not broke, don't fix it. And I don't think it's broke. So yeah, it's been same guys I'm working with. Been working with them for years. I've been down with elevation since 2016, and yeah, we've been doing this. I mean, obviously we there are small tweaks that my coaches do, but for the most part, it's been the same. Yeah.
All right, this has been Fighting Words. Mike Urata, Mike Straka, Curtis Blaydes. Big fight this weekend. Good luck to you, sir. Thank you for joining us.